The hot seat. And in this week's hot seat, we've got Val Jonas, who is the riskiest person I know in the nicest possible sense. So Val has been around risk all of her working life, specialising in project and programme management risk, and is the CEO of the Risk Decisions group. She works across all of the industries, and she's responsible for the Predict Risk Management and Analysis software. Now, the reason why we got Val involved is because somebody from the audience got in touch with us and said, well, what do senior managers really want to understand about risk? Do they really want to kind of just look at the top 3 risks of every project? But actually, probably they want to look at something different. So I thought I'd ask Val. What do they want to see, Val? What do they understand about their own kind of risk appetite for risk?
Oh, well, yeah, actually it's a tricky topic to be talking about when people are, depending on where you are in the world, you might be about to go and have lunch, but risk appetite is one of those things which I think is people struggle with, and senior managers, you don't know what's in their mind, you've got to guess, and risk appetite is one of those things where well, if you take it back to its definition of the amount and type of risk you're willing to pursue and retain, actually that's in the eye of the beholder. You've got to really understand your managers, your management, to understand what kind of risk they want. And the word pursue also means avoiding being risk averse, taking opportunities, looking at innovation. So actually, you really need to think in a very broad way about risk when you think about senior management and what they want to talk about. And I think the other thing is you've got to get into your heads that they are commercial people, they are strategy people, they don't want to get in the weeds. So getting down to do you want this risk to be in the medium, low, high, all the kind of detailed stuff, I think is you've got to avoid that. You really need to talk their language. It's all about having conversations. So yeah, your risk appetite might be different from theirs. There are lots of different perspectives on it.
So it's interesting. We're doing the service catalogue at the minute, and we're seeing as part of pulling together the overall management framework. How do we articulate that? How do we assess that so we know what might want to be presented back to senior managers?
Well, I think it depends on what, looking at the framework in multiple levels. I've got a slide that I'm sure I haven't got time to share today, but you start top down, you've got governance, you've got benefits, outcomes, all the strategy, and on the operational side, you've got to make sure that you can deliver those things. And as you come down through portfolios and programs and projects, if you don't have risk management applied to all those levels and all the types of risk across all the functions, and then you're gonna struggle. So even though you use each individual looking at risk will be in their bit of the business, actually you have to look at it enterprise wide. You've got to think enterprise wide, and that's how managers do. Senior management are looking now. They don't want to just know how's your project going, how's your program going. Are you going to deliver on time and on budget? They're also saying, and what's the picture of risk with all the external things. I liked all the internal and external spanners earlier. You really need to be looking wider than simply inwards and tactical. You need to look out and strategic, and that's one of the things that we're seeing even in projects and programs. They're starting to think about enterprise-wide risk. I mean, you can see the wheel we've got here, because people were saying, do you only do project and program risk? Or you can't do that in isolation. You do it in a context of finance, the change of government that John was talking about earlier, what's in the news, cybersecurity. We look at what's happening in the Olympics today, and security and terrorism, and everything you do, you've actually got to think about in the wider context. And that's what managers want people to be doing, not simply looking inwards. And of course, we've got to keep remembering change happens very fast. And so we need to think about, does that mean that our business case is out of date? Does it mean that we're not going to deliver the benefits? Have things changed in terms of what people expect, what our stakeholders are huge thing. So risk isn't just about going, am I going to deliver my deliverables on time and on budget? Am I going to integrate my the things that need to be integrated? It's actually, are you going to achieve what the business needs, what the organisation, government, whoever the funders are, or the stakeholders? So you really have to think very big about risk these days.
So it's an interesting point. So I'm going to do all of those dreadful things and ask more than one question at once, Val. So I'm just thinking about the role of the PMO and the enterprise PMO. And this kind of, we always have this kind of conversation as to kind of whether the ePMO actually looks truly at the enterprise, or some EPOs just look at projects and programs. So we have this kind of, do we have a risk manager in the ePMO, or do we have an enterprise risk manager? And do we need both? And can they just cope with a set of spreadsheets?
I think one of the problems is that people are taking much too tactical approach to risk management a lot of the time, and we all know everybody's busy. And one of the things that I spend a lot of time doing is trying to persuade people spreadsheets don't cut it anymore. You need to have real-time information. We don't do our project plans on spreadsheets. We don't do our finances on spreadsheets. We don't look after HR on spreadsheets. Well, I think most people don't. So why are we looking at? And one of the issues is when senior management want an answer to something, they want it now. And I've been in workshops with people doing risk things, and they end up being pulled out because they've got to go and pull together 15 spreadsheets to give an answer to senior management, instead of having all in one place, real time, updated on a regular basis. We haven't got time these days to go and pull data together. The data has to be there, ready. The reports have got to be, immediately available. We've got to release. You talked about, do we need an enterprise risk manager? Do we need a PMO risk manager? Well, actually, what we really need is those risk managers to not be doing an administrative job. Whoever you've got, it's more about quality time so that they can actually be helping people make decision making on the basis of risk information is what helps you succeed in your organization, whether it's in the PMO, at enterprise, anywhere. And actually, I think you probably need an enterprise risk manager and a PMO risk manager. And the big thing is they need to be talking to each other.
Yes. And it would be really interesting to see how AI kind of forces us to move into that situation where actually our time is not spent just doing administration of those spreadsheets. So just another question about risk, because we've all heard this kind of, well, risks are, kind of things that impact our ability to achieve our objectives. And then we have this kind of, we have opportunities and threats. Is there we recognize that kind of the risk appetite often talks about the kind of the threats. How is that different to perhaps opportunities? Is it just a textbook thing, or is that a reality in practice?
Well, I think one of the biggest problems we've always had is people just see risk as negative, and it's not. And it isn't even as simple as to say, well, find some opportunities, do opportunity management. It's actually a much bigger mindset about the two of them. We really need to encourage people to be thinking about opportunity alongside innovation. Risk is more about problem solving, and people love problem solving, and even an opportunity is a problem to solve quite often, because innovation and whether it's technology, whether it's something like more environmental, social, all of those kind of things. There are a lot of challenges we face, and we're amazing at solving problems. A lot of the time we just don't get round to tackling them. And we don't think about the positive side as well as the negative side. People tend to just want to identify risks. And of course, the biggest thing you've got to do is you've got to take action. That's what decision making is about. Because you don't just go, oh, there's a problem, let's record it, stick it in the risk register. When it happens, oh, let's all feel sorry for ourselves. We actually have to get out there and see that we can make a difference, and risk allows us to do that. It's just a bit tricky when we're all busy. We've got in-trays, we've got, you know, so much to do. Finding time to carve out that kind of the time to do risk and opportunity management, or threat and opportunity management, is difficult. But actually, if you make it more positive, you go out and you don't turn up and think, oh gosh, nobody wants to see me, they want me to go away. You turn up and you go, hey, right, we're going to do some problem solving today. And one of the things I often tell people, don't go out and say, you know, we're going to do a risk management workshop. Just say we're going to do a risk workshop. Because risk is an exciting thing to tackle. Risk management sounds very dull and boring.
Well, I think it would, I kind of believe the time's gone already, Val. I'd really appreciate you doing here, but I kind of think it would be really good to come back and for you to do a full session to enthuse us about risk, as obviously kind of you are, and you've kind of done your career of it. So thank you very much for joining us today, and do see if you've got any kind of additional questions for Val, but we will definitely get her back to do a full session.